Is the iPhone 12 camera still worth it in 2025? Well, join me and let's find out. Hello guys, and you're welcome. My name is TechMood, and if you're seriously looking to start video production, photography, or video editing using an iPhone, I'm going to give you a couple of reasons why the iPhone 12 might be a best budget option, especially in 2025. Does it still hold up to the performance when you compare it with the higher end iPhones? In this video, I'm going to review specifically the camera, showing a lot of examples and images I took, basically my adventure with the iPhone 12, and finally, I'll guide you towards deciding if this is an option you feel you want to pick up. Let's jump in. Now, before we move on, I'd like to do a brief overview of the cameras you can find on the iPhone 12. The regular iPhone 12, not the iPhone 12 Pro, regular iPhone 12. Now, we have the front camera, or the selfie camera, which is a 12 megapixel camera, can go up to true depth and can record videos of up to 4K at 60 and 24 frames per second, which is great for a front camera. Now, the dual back cameras on the iPhone 12 features a wide camera with an f-stop of 1.6, which gives you great aperture, especially for bokeh or background blur. And then we have the ultra-wide camera, which has an f-stop of 2.4. It also gives us that bokeh effect, but it has a 120 degrees wide angle field of view. So apart from that, it also has a dedicated night mode, and I'll be going over some of the night mode shots, which is excellent, especially during the night mode. Also, it uses the Smart HDR3 technology and Dolby Vision HDR, and also uses Deep Fusion AI. So your images are going to be pre-calculated before they are brought out each time you take a shot or a picture. Again, I'm going to be rolling out through the images of the night mode and specifically showing you videos and image capabilities of the iPhone 12 camera. Now, for taking selfies, the iPhone 12 has a 12 megapixel front camera with a true depth. It works well with the bokeh effects, and it also handles skin tones very well, as you can see. Using this front camera is also excellent for things like portrait shots, where you can also have that bokeh, especially when you're working with portrait mode. Also, I'll be going over a few of the shots I've taken in this using the bokeh so you can see the blur on the background. Furthermore, when you're making video calls with the front camera, it's excellent, especially for social media. So your WhatsApp, your TikTok, and your Instagrams are going to be excellent and swell when you're using the front camera. So let's go in and keep on reviewing the back cameras on the iPhone 12. So now that we've looked at the key cameras and views we have on the iPhone 12, let's go ahead and look at the iPhone 12's camera performance. First, daylight photos. I'm rolling through a sample of daylight photos, and you can see it does exceptionally well, especially with the wide and ultra-wide cameras. The color is accurate and has a dynamic range, and it actually captures excellent detail. For the portrait mode on the iPhone 12, the edge detect seems to be highly improved coming from the iPhone 8 and the iPhone 11. And we can actually see a good setting that shows us the background or bokeh blur. And I'm actually using the front camera and show some sample images of a character, of a subject, rather, using this. Also, the images have less noise, so the noise reduction has actually improved. It doesn't over brighten the image, and you can see the low light conclusions and images. For the ultra wide shots, like I mentioned earlier, though it captures a very wide angle, I'll just go ahead and switch this camera to the ultra wide shot so you can see actually what I mean on this video. Now, this is the same video with the ultra wide shot. You can see how it can capture my field of view. But again, there is some slight distortion, especially with the when I compare this with the ultra-wide camera. And again, if I'm not really capturing a scene or a very nice view, I want to capture everything, I think the ultra-wide camera seems a bit natural for me because the perspective distortion makes it feel super weird like that. So I'll go ahead and switch over to the wide camera, and we'll continue the review for the iPhone. Now, for daylight videos, the iPhone 12 does exceptionally well. I'm actually recording this video on 4K at 24 frames per second, and though I'm not walking, it offers great stabilization and color accuracy. At the same time, it captures a high quality detail. Now for night mode, I went ahead and took a couple of shots, and these are the things I noticed for the night mode. Now, before we move on, the night mode has a dedicated night mode, especially when you're using the native camera. So you can always switch to the night mode. The only thing I would advise you do when you're making your night shots is to make sure that you use a stabilizer. So a gimbal or a tripod will really help. Your hand is a bit shaky sometimes, so you might have that jittery ghost-like look. So apart from that, when we're actually working, it seems to be stable, but still a gimbal will always save you. Just try and move and use a lot of stabilization to make sure that your footage is not super jittery and shaky. So all in all, it can capture videos at very high resolutions. The highest is 4K at 60 FPS. It can also capture slow motion at 120 and 240 resolutions, frames per second, especially when you're shooting at the higher resolution. You can also have your standard 1080p, and you can also have HD resolution as well. So it depends on what you want to do. One advice I would give when you're recording your videos at 4K is that editing very long videos at 4K resolution would really tell on your system. So you have to make sure you have a system that has a lot of RAM and has a good GPU like ATI or NVIDIA, so that you have a buttery smooth effect. What I've noticed from personal experience is that just recording at 1080p, that's the 1920 by 1080 resolution, captures your videos so well and excellent that you might not necessarily need to always record in 4K. 4K is also going to guzzle out your memory like guzzling in Mad Max, and if that's something you want to avoid, then just stay safe in your 1080p zone, and trust me, you'll be good to go. Now, not all that glitters is actually gold, so what are the pros and cons of the iPhone 12? So the first thing is the excellent video and photo quality. Your images are going to be crisp, clear, sharp, and have a dynamic range on your videos, and it goes through some algorithm that Apple has provided. So your pictures are going to come out very nice, smooth, buttery, and have that iPhone aesthetic. Apart from that, you're going to have excellent video capabilities since you can record up to 4K and you have less noise, especially coming from older models. You also have the advantage of having night mode and Dolby Vision, high dynamic range, which are excellent, game changers these days. Apart from that, you have a sleek and compact device that's very fast and easy to use, so you can get your images very fast, edit your images using the built-in apps, and use a couple of filters before you post your videos to a client or social media. Now, again, some of the cons of the iPhone 12 is that there is no dedicated telephoto lens. So what is a telephoto lens? A telephone and a photograph? Well, basically a telephoto lens is the third lens on the usually high-end iPhone models. Usually you find out when you look at an iPhone and you see three lenses behind it, most likely it's a Pro model or a Max model. But usually the telephoto lens is the missing lens in the iPhone 12. And basically you use the telephoto lens to capture into a zoomed in locale, a building or a setting without necessarily losing quality. The lens is designed to zoom in and capture a subject you might not necessarily want to be too close to. For example, you might be in a zoo and you're trying to get a photograph of a crocodile. The telephoto lens might really help you zoom in and capture the image because you don't want to be in front of the crocodile asking him to smile. And also, there are limited manual controls on the default iPhones, right? So on the iPhone 12, don't expect to find all those settings you can use to change. For example, your aperture, you can actually change your aperture, but things like your ISO, things like your exposure, you don't really have full manual control, like things like quickly switching between your lenses. You don't really have that with the built-in app, but there are third-party apps like Beastcam and ProShot that do that exceptionally well. So if we compare the iPhone 12 with the iPhone 8, the XR, or the iPhone 11, clearly the iPhone 12 has seen a buffed up, growth and built up capability compared with the other older models. So right now the question is, who is the iPhone 12 for? So if you're a casual user, someone who just likes to take pictures and you're not really concerned about the number of lenses you have and quality, the iPhone 12 is a great option to really go for. If you're a social media content creator, or you're a video food blogger, or just a general blogger, then the iPhone 12 is honestly a very great option to switch into, because you have standard video capabilities that's more than enough to take care of your needs. Also, if you're an upgrader, basically someone who wants to upgrade his iPhone or her iPhone, ladies first, to something much more impressive that might, power up, might be in par with other models of iPhones, like the iPhone 13 somehow, or the S20 or Google Pixel 5, then the iPhone 12 is an option to really jump into. Now, as a final verdict, is the iPhone 12 really worth it in 2025? And the honest opinion is yes. Though I would suggest, if it's not in your budget option, you might want to go for the iPhone 11, because it has similar capabilities, not as powerful as the 12, but the difference is fairly negligible and comparable, right? So you would go off with the 12 and have capable, excellent performance as well, though you might miss out on the dedicated night mode and the improvements, especially when it comes to the portrait photos and the effects, bokeh effects, and also some video capabilities like the noise reduction. In summary, the iPhone 12 is a beast, and it captures details well, doesn't really drop in performance, especially when you've actually pushed it, has excellent battery life, which we haven't actually touched much on. So I believe the 12 Pro is a strong contender. Now, if you're not really into the iPhones and feel they might be a hard hit on your pockets and might cost you an arm and a leg, I would suggest you get like a Samsung S20 or a Google Pixel 5. And these are comparable, options, especially when you're the Android type of person. And you might actually compare that with the iPhone 12 Pro and still get similar results. But all in all, yes, the iPhone 12 is a phone I would suggest to anyone who's on a budget. But if you feel like going for a higher model, then I would suggest you get the 12 Pro, which has more capabilities, has the telephoto camera, has beefed up memory and also performance. And this will also greatly improve your video blogging, photography, and capabilities. Before I move on, I'd like to thank our sponsor, Thompson Gadgets. Thompson Gadgets is an amazing store in Banex Plaza in Abuja that does nationwide delivery in Nigeria. At Thompson Gadgets, you have access to amazing, affordable, cheap, and fair deals. You always get a quick customer response, and not just iOS devices or general devices. You can get to buy other electronics also at Thompson Gadgets. So why not head out to Banex Plaza, dial the number on your screens, contact Thompson Gadgets, and see a bang for your buck. Either way, thank you very much for joining me in this review. If you like me to review any phone model, please suggest a phone model for me to go ahead and review. And I also have done a review of the iPhone 8 Plus. So in case you want to check out the iPhone 8 Plus as well, it's a really cheap iOS version, an iPhone that really comes in, although it doesn't really get any upgrades right now, and some apps might not necessarily be supported currently, but you can still have walk around it. So thank you very much for watching, taking time out with me. Goodbye, and I'll see you in the next phone review. Thank you.